not the town attorney's decision. I think because of, or I would suggest to you that because of the pending lawsuit and the town attorney's representing the town in that lawsuit, she's come to this position, this opinion with somewhat of a position that I question whether or not it's a fully unconflicted, unbiased position that she can offer you in light of having representing the town in the lawsuit. But anyway, the question is yours as the fact finder. It's your determination whether or not you think sufficient notice was in place to have appealed the building permit. And let me walk you why I think there was not sufficient notice in this instance. Unlike in Gallivan, as I mentioned, Barnstable does not provide notice to abutters of building permits. So no notice was published and no notice was sent to my clients when the building permit was issued. As Ms. Weil indicated, on or about June 20th, a representative for my client, Bozzini, just happened to go to Town Hall and inquire whether or not a building permit had issued for the terminal. We were informed at that time by the building department that they did not keep copies of their building permits, which I actually don't think is an accurate statement, but that was what was told to us, and that they could not, therefore, produce a copy of the building permit. Again, this is around July 20th. They did provide us with a computer printout, but that did not indicate that the building permit had been issued. In fact, it said it was being reviewed at the time. Again, this is July 20th, which is after when the town attorney has indicated the building permits were issued on July 9th. So on July 20th, when a representative was at Town Hall, we were aware that building permit applications had been filed, but were unaware that a building permit had actually issued by that time. I would note that even if we had been advised on that date that a building permit had been issued, that would have still been less than 20 days. It would have been 19 days for us to file an appeal. I think it's questionable whether or not that's sufficient time for us to file an appeal. But anyway, on July 20th, we were told that a building permit, and provided a handout from the building department computer, that a building permit had not issued yet for the terminal building. This, I suggest to you, is further evidence that we did not have sufficient notice of the issuance of a building permit as required under Gallivan. Subsequently, in September of 2008, my firm sent, and this is when the litigation was in full force and moving forward, sent a Freedom of Information Act request to the town clerk's office asking for copies of many documents, including any building permit applications. We received a reply from the town clerk's office under that request that they did not have the information requested. We then sent another letter to the town attorney's office, again saying that that was an inadequate response and requesting the information that had been sought in that Freedom of Information Act request. What I would suggest to you at the bottom line here is that my clients did not have a fair opportunity to appeal the issuance of the building permit because, one, it received no notice from the town that the building permits had been applied for or issued. Number two, that despite, and I don't know why, but for whatever reason, when my clients did go to Town Hall or sent a representative to Town Hall on July 20th to inquire about the building permits for the terminal, they were told that they didn't have copies of any permits. They were provided with a printout which said that the building permit was still, application was still under review. And therefore, there was not an adequate opportunity to appeal that building permit, which I gather was issued on July 9th, within the 30-day appeal period. Instead, what I would suggest to you is that the independent process that's set forth in Chapter 40A that allows for an enforcement request to be asked for and then appealed within 30 days of that decision was intended to address exactly this kind of situation, where an abutter is aggrieved but does not have actual knowledge of a building permit and does not have an opportunity to appeal that building permit under the 30-day process. In the case of Fitch versus Board of Appeals of Concord, the court makes clear that the request for the enforcement procedure, which is what we followed, is independent of the right to take an appeal under 40A Section 15 within 30 days of the issuance of a permit. So to sum up my response to this portion of the hearing, I would respectfully suggest to you that the Gallivan case is inapplicable in this instance, that this is an appeal of first impression involving building permits issued in violation of the Cape Cod Commission regulations, and that even if Gallivan were applicable, it's clearly distinguishable. we did not receive actual notice of a building permit, and when we took reasonable efforts to determine if a building permit had been issued on July 20th, we were provided with misinformation.